Rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling glass, a relentless, rhythmic static that filled the penthouse. Elias stood at the center of the living room, motionless. The only light came from the city pulse far below, casting long, shifting shadows across the floor. He gripped a cold glass, the liquid inside still. Then, the silence fractured. A sharp, red pulse flickered on his phone screen. He kept his eyes on the device for 3 full seconds before moving. He tapped the notification. A live feed opened. An abandoned warehouse at the city's edge, dark and hollow. A figure stood beneath a flickering neon sign, waiting. Elias watched the feed, his breath steady, his grip on the glass tightening until his knuckles went white. He set the glass down on the table. It did not spill. He turned away from the windows, walked toward the elevator, and pressed the call button. The red light on the phone screen remained active, a silent directive cutting through the gloom of the room. He did not look back at the penthouse. The door slid open, and he stepped into the small, confined space. The descent began. The elevator doors opened to the garage. Elias moved to a sedan, the engine turning over with a low, heavy vibration that rattled the frame. He drove through the empty industrial district, tires hissing against wet asphalt slick with oil and neon light. He did not speed. He maintained a steady pace until the warehouse loomed ahead, a jagged silhouette against the low clouds. He killed the headlights, leaving the world in shadow. He pushed the heavy iron door. It groaned, a long, grinding protest that echoed into the rafters. Inside, the air tasted of salt and rusted metal. A figure turned near a support pillar. Sarah. She held a small metal key, rolling it between her fingers. "You are late," she said. Her voice carried, bouncing off the concrete. Elias took 2 paces forward, his shadow stretching long across the floor. "The bridge was closed," he replied, stopping 5 paces away. Sarah tossed the key into the air and caught it with a sharp snap of her hand. "They know you have the drive." Elias reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver flash drive. He held it up, letting the faint, overhead neon catch the metal surface. The air between them tightened. The flash drive glinted, a sliver of polished metal against the gloom of the warehouse. Elias kept his arm extended, his gaze fixed on the space between Sarah and the steel pillars behind her. The silence of the room was absolute, a heavy pressure that seemed to drain the warmth from the air. Then, the darkness above shifted. A thin, searing beam of light cut through the suspended dust motes, descending from the catwalks with clinical precision. It hit Elias square in the center of his chest, a small, burning red eye that did not flicker. The contrast was sharp, visceral. Elias stopped breathing. The pulse of the light was steady, rhythmic, and final. Sarah saw it. Her expression shifted from professional detachment to sudden, sharp alarm. She did not speak. She did not shout. She simply dropped the key. The metal clattering against the concrete with a sound like a gunshot. The red dot remained anchored, unmoved by the sudden movement in the room. Elias felt the weight of the light, a pinpoint of heat that marked him as a target. The distance between them, once a space of negotiation, had become a kill zone. Every shadow in the warehouse seemed to lean inward, watching the red point hold its mark. The countdown had begun. The gunshot erupted, a violent crack that splintered the stillness. Concrete shards exploded near Elias's shoulder as he dived into the dark. He hit the floor, sliding across the oil-slicked surface toward the side exit. Behind him, boots hammered the concrete, rhythmically closing the distance. He scrambled, his palms raw as he pushed off the ground, finding his footing just as another round punched a hole through a wooden crate where his head had been a second before. He didn't look back. He shoved the iron door open with his shoulder, the metal screeching against the frame. Cold rain hit him like a physical blow. He lunged into the downpour, his lungs burning as he sprinted toward the pier. The city lights blurred into long, jagged streaks of neon on the wet pavement. He heard the heavy thud of doors opening behind him, the rapid cadence of pursuit echoing through the alleyway. The pier loomed ahead, a dark, skeletal structure jutting into the black water. Every breath was a jagged intake of freezing air. He pushed his legs harder, ignoring the sting in his chest, driving himself toward the edge of the dock as the sounds of pursuit grew louder, closer, and hungry for the kill. The wooden planks groaned under his boots, slick with rain and rot. Elias hit the edge of the pier and skidded to a halt. Behind him, the three men emerged from the warehouse maw, weapons raised, their heavy breathing matching the rhythm of the storm. Elias stood at the threshold of the abyss. Below, the black water churned, swallowing the moonlight. He looked at the flash drive in his hand, then back at the approaching silhouettes. With a sharp, sudden motion, he hurled the silver drive into the dark, churning waves. It vanished without a splash. The men froze, their weapons lowering as they stared at the empty, swirling surface. The tension that had driven the night evaporated into the rain. Elias did not wait for their next move. He simply stepped back, letting his heels leave the edge of the wood. The air whistled past his ears for a heartbeat before the river rose up to meet him. Cold, dark, and absolute. The impact was a dull thud, followed by the silent embrace of the current. Within seconds, the ripples smoothed out. The pier sat empty. The only sound left was the steady rhythmic drumming of rain against the surface of the deep black water.